and the easier life gets around us, then I think the more intentional you have to be about every once in a while choosing the hard path. Welcome to King Moves. In chess, the king moves one step at a time, but that single move can change everything. Each week, we explore mindset shifts and simple actions that could lead to the next breakthrough in your business and life. I'm your co-host, Ethan King, from Atlanta, Georgia, USA. Entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, and best-selling author of Wealth Beyond Money.
And I'm your co-host, Justin King, no relation to Ethan, from Cape Town, South Africa. Entrepreneur, speaker, and business growth strategist. Our journey crosses continents and cultures as we think out loud, challenge assumptions, and uncover the small moves that create big momentum. Welcome to King Moves. Let's start the conversation. All right, Ethan. So you are the expert in the room that you and I are in, this digital room that you and I are in when it comes to AI. And all I have seen doing the rounds currently is everything about Claude Mythos. Like every news headline seems to be some sort of doomsday around what this means, how the internet as we know it is about to collapse, how nothing is secure. Claude Mythos ran overnight as an example, and it has found holes in nearly every single platform, website, bank, whatever you're wanting to call it, globally. And I mean, how much of this is true? Do we all need to be freaked out? How much of it is hype? What should we do? What does this mean? Is this technology going to be made available to the public? I think that I know a lot of the global heads that control a lot of this power are getting together to try and understand how they manage the release of this technology. It's just seems to be very interesting. Another interesting development in this AI ecosystem that is just crazy at the moment.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this goes. I think that there's definitely some plausibility to it because we've seen what Opus 4.6 can do, which is their current version. In fact, they just came out with Opus 4.7. But what I've realized is because I've been using OpenClaw for a few months now, and you can power OpenClaw with whatever model you want. Well, Claude decided to take away the all you can eat. You used to be able to power OpenClaw with your Claude subscription, and then they cut that off and they started charging extra if you use any third-party tools to access Claude. And that was a huge blow to the OpenClaw community because your OpenClaw just doesn't quite work the same when you put a different brain into it. So it is built for, I believe Peter Steinberger, when he built it, and he says this in his talk, that he built it around Opus 4.6 because it will just do stuff for you. Like it will plow through walls to accomplish whatever task you give it. It doesn't tell you no or push back, whereas other AI will say, oh, sorry, I can't do that. But you can do it this way manually. And I'm like, no, I want you to do it. So now that I've seen firsthand the power of Opus, because I've had to like switch it out, swap it from time to time, and I can see how my OpenClaw behaves differently, there is some plausibility that Mythos, Claude's next version, could be way more powerful. But at the same time, I think there's a little bit of marketing hype in there that's going to get people excited. I think it's great publicity for Anthropic, but I think there's a little bit of hype to it in how dangerous Mythos is. But it is also, there's a grain of truth in everything. So I think that it's quite plausible, given the power of Opus, that Mythos could be very powerful, but it's also a great marketing opportunity for Anthropic.
What would it drive people? So from just a hype point of view and a marketing point of view, what would it drive people towards or to? The more, and I'm going to use this term very loosely, but the more entry-level AI products that they have out there, because Mythos seems like it wouldn't be something that I would use in my day-to-day. So what was the hype around really?
Well, I think what this does is really give us a glimpse into what the people really want. What we want is we want AI agents that can do things for us like people can, or better than people can, that can actually take action for us. And that's why we're excited about it. It's a little scary too, because people can do bad things. So you don't want AI to be able to do bad things. And I think we've all We've all seen Terminator and Matrix in the movies where the robots take over. So I think this may be in the back of all of our minds that, could this be Skynet? But I think it's what we want. We want agents. We want, and it is inevitable. It's going to happen that we will all have AI agents doing different things for us. You will have agents that book your appointments for you, book your flights for you. At some point, it's going to be so proactive that you can just walk outside and a car will come and pick you up without you even having to pick up your phone and summon it, because it already knows about your schedule and where you are with geolocation. It knows your preferences, and it'll just design your life for you, and we will love it. It will be a convenience. So we want that, and we're excited about the possibility of that. And we see that it is possible with Claude, and it's very likely that they have that capability. So I think we want it, but we also want to be careful that, because at the same time you have these talks about the government and wanting to implement AI, and that whole situation with Anthropic and OpenAI and the Department of Defense. So we don't need it making life, kill or don't kill decisions, but I would want it to make my life easier.
I'm so tempted to take this conversation another route. You and I had a topic that we had hung up for another episode, but it fits so neatly into what we're chatting about now. So I think I'm going to bring it in. It's what happens when we start making our lives easier all the time. At what cost? So like you've just said, we're going to have an agent for everything. But at the end of the day, it's not always what is left for us to do, because I think that's where a lot of people's mind goes to. What would be left for us to do? Meaning, like, am I going to get bored? What am I physically going to do? I think part of the question that needs to be asked is at what cost? So what skills are we not going to be learning by doing all of these things, not being able to do these things for ourselves or outsourcing them? So what got me thinking about that, Ethan, is diapers. You call them diapers, I call them nappies in South Africa. I came across a really, really, and I mean, I'm elbow deep in diapers currently. I've got a 6-week-old son, and yes, I'm changing probably 10 diapers a day. It's not always fun, but I saw a really interesting study that was done on diapers, on nappies. And back in the 90s, kids or babies were potty trained within the first 18 months. That was kind of the norm. Fast forward to today, and you're looking at 3 years plus that it's taking to potty train kids. And when diving into the reasons for that, there's a couple of contributing factors. Number one is there's been a slight change in philosophy when it comes to how to potty train and raise kids. So that's part of it. But the major contributor has been I'm going to call it the technological advancements in diapers, in nappies. So back in the 1950s, you had cloth diapers that were very unpleasant to wash and obviously at the same time to wear. Fast forward to today, and you've got disposable diapers, hugely easy to use, and there's a lot more comfort in using them. So number one, there was less of an incentive for parents to move through this phase of having these dirty cloth diapers that they were having to wash and reuse, because disposables have just made that so easy. So that played a contributing factor. But more importantly, the real feedback for the infant, for the child, has been removed. So with a cloth diaper, when they would mess in their diaper and make a wee, they would feel that wetness immediately. So there was an incentive to not have that happening. Hence, the potty training would happen quicker. With the ultra absorbent diapers that they have today, or that we have today, what that means is that signal is gone. So the infant, the baby, will wee in their diaper and they just don't feel it. They don't register. The wetness has been all absorbed, so that feedback loop has been broken. So this skill that was taking 18 months to learn is now taking double that amount of time to learn, because we've taken out that feedback, that little bit of difficulty, that little bit of discomfort in the middle. And when we start thinking about our lives and in general, it's GPS. So we jump into the car, we've removed that little bit of discomfort of having to do a bit of work before you leave the house. So of opening the map book and looking at where your destination is going to be, or even just opening a map on your phone and just double checking your route and then jumping in and driving it yourself. So we losing a skill is a net negative. Yeah, we might get to our appointments faster, most optimal route, all of that. But there's a net negative around the skill set that we've been able to build or not build because of that. And when you start examining our lives, we'll notice that in a lot more areas. So it does. It ties in beautifully to what we started speaking about now, because like, where does that end? When we say what are the jobs that are going to be left for us, it's less about, for me in my mind, it's less about what am I going to get paid to do. I just mean what are the jobs left for? Like what are the day to day, the small little things, the changing of the diapers, the whatever it is. What is going to be left for us to lean into that's enough discomfort that we're actually learning a skill off the back of it, rather than just outsourcing everything to ever evolving technology. That's a lot of words.
Yeah, it's hard to predict. Do we always need a pain signal in order to do something? Like, is everything that we do driven from some type of pain or some type of need? I think I dare not even try to predict this stuff. I'm not even going to call myself a futurist because stuff changes so fast. But I do think that new jobs will be created out of this. It always happens with technology. I was listening to something the other day that reminded me, now this was before my time, but there used to be humans who were phone operators. When you called someone on the phone, it went to a human being who was an operator who had to pull out something and punch it into the other thing to connect your call. Well, when we had the improvement, I don't even know what it's called, the dial tone, I don't know. But now that whole industry is wiped out. There aren't human operators anymore. So those people had to find new jobs. Now, that sounds disruptive, but it's not like I don't know how many operators were there, 100,000? I'm just making up a number. But were all of these operators now just homeless on the street, dying from starvation because their jobs were replaced? No, they found other jobs. New jobs were created. In fact, the toll-free number system, like the 1-800 numbers and stuff, came out of that because now there wasn't a toll. We didn't have to pay a human. So now that unlocked the possibility for toll-free numbers. And with toll-free numbers, we saw a whole new industry boom out of that because we saw 1-800 numbers everywhere. 1-800, 1-866, 1-877. Whole industry, even before the dot-com era and still a little bit today. No one could have predicted that, though, back in the age of the human operators. So I don't think we can predict the jobs that are going to come, but new jobs will come for sure. And those jobs may not necessarily be need-based or pain-based. They may be purely entertainment-based because I'm bullish on human connection. I do think we're going to want more and more human connection as we enter more and more of a digital world because we don't appreciate, as humans, we don't appreciate things that are purely digital or artificial. So we will be used to seeing the artificial world on our screens, on our phones, on our glasses, whatever. But we're going to crave human connection, being in the same place with each other. So that could be theater, going to the plays, movies, comedy shows, concerts, things like that, getting together, going on trips. I think we're going to see more and more of that. So there'll be more jobs created around that and more things to do around that. That said, that's interesting about the diaper technology there, and that you don't feel the wetness. So it's taking people longer to potty train.
I mean, Michael Easter really spoke about this in Comfort Crisis. I think that's where my thoughts were going. It's when we remove any and all discomfort. So it doesn't have to be pain, but waiting, getting bored. Is there something wrong with getting bored? And think about how quickly people get bored now. If you were to stand in a queue, in a line at a grocery store, and there's a few people in front of you, do you take your phone out and look at it?
Yeah. I think about this every time I'm in a line now, because before phones, lines were horrible. But now people don't mind. Yeah. Now people don't mind as
horrible.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
now I just whip up my phone and I have entertainment while I'm waiting. But it gets bad because anytime I'm at a red light, I pull out my phone. I try to, if I have 30 seconds to spare, I'm usually going to my phone, and that's a reflex. Yeah.
There we go. So it's, as I say, when we start examining things, there's that we've removed. There's just these moments of, and it's not pain, and even discomfort is a strong word for it sometimes, but it comes at the loss of being able to learn a skill. And let's stick with the example of standing in a line. The skill that you're losing there is just the ability to wait and be patient, and realize that the world doesn't have to be, or life doesn't have to be going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. That for me would be number one. Number two is people have a real inability just to have a conversation with the people around you. It
Mm-hmm.
just, it doesn't happen. We be sitting on our phone. I mean, if you ever jump on public transport, you look around, and everybody is looking at their cell phone. So yeah, that's where I think I'm going. If all of these moments are being removed, there's this net loss of certain skills that we should be learning that we no longer are. It's the same as the taxi drivers in New York, I always forget the area of their brain, because they've had to understand this crazy city with all these streets. Their brains have actually physically changed. Part of their brains have got bigger. But now, with that removed, that means that part of our brain is actually going to atrophy. And
So,
that is what's happening to so many parts of our lives.
so that book, was that a book you mentioned, Comfort Crisis? Is that right?
Comfort Crisis, Michael Easter. Great book. Really worth the read. Absolutely
Okay.
worth the read.
So what's the big takeaway from that? What's the action or the mindset that we should adopt from that book?
So I always say, choose the challenge before the challenge chooses you. So really what Michael Easter was saying there is look for moments to lean into a little bit of discomfort. And example would be a staircase. I mean, you and I both enjoy keeping fit and active. And according to the numbers that he looked in the research that he did, 2% of people, 2% of people will choose to take the stairs if there is an escalator or an elevator available to them. Only 2%. So how do we just choose those moments? And it doesn't have to be every part of your life, but how do we choose certain times where leaning into that little bit of discomfort is actually beneficial for us, rather than just using every little bit of technology that is available to us and beyond. Having a cold shower every now and again, maybe that's good for you. It doesn't have to be this perfect temperature every single time, and you step out onto a warm a shower mat that is heated from below. You grab your towel from a heated towel rail. You know what I mean? Like it's just comfort throughout our lives. It became, and again, I don't want to give away the entire book, but it became really apparent for him because he went on a hunt, and I forget where. I think he may have gone to Alaska, but he spent 4 or 5 weeks on this hunt. And I mean, there you've got every single comfort you can imagine stripped away. Nothing. So when he came back to the ordinary world, when he was flying home, the very same flight where on his way there, he was moaning about how cramped these seats were and how disgusting the airplane food was. On the way home, he was like, man, this is the most comfortable chair I've ever sat in my entire life. And how incredible are these snacks and this airplane food that I've just been given. So it was just a reset for him. And that was a big catalyst for what he speaks about. And he speaks about Misogi. Misogi is a big part of his book as well. So leaning into a physically hard endeavor once a year, physically hard challenge.
Yeah.
It's a great book. But as I say, it's been top of mind. Don't get me wrong, though. I'm very glad that I'm not changing cloth nappies or cloth diapers right now.
Yeah, because you have to wash them out, and that sucks,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. That sucks. But
Yeah.
But it's interesting because would I, if that was there, that little bit of discomfort, if I opted, this would be the interesting thing. And I'm not offering to take this challenge on. But if I opted and I said, hey, cloth diapers for Harrison from now on, would Harrison be potty trained before anybody else who's currently his age? I don't know. Maybe.
I'm going to say hell yeah, because part of that motivation is going to come from the parents who are tired of washing these diapers. So you're going to push them to be potty trained faster.
Yeah.
I think what you're saying, and this is on brand for you, like this is what you talk about in all of your things. It's like we need to remind ourselves to do hard things every now and then. And the easier life gets around us, then I think the more intentional you have to be about every once in a while choosing the hard path, because you get the rewards from choosing the hard path, from taking the stairs instead of the elevator, from parking farther away from the building than trying to circle around 8 times to find the closest parking spot, by not using GPS and using your brain instead. We need to keep those human parts of us energized and alive. So doing the hard things every now and then, this is a great reminder of that. That's the biggest takeaway. That's the king move I'm getting from this conversation. So even when Claude Mythos is out there managing our lives and making it super easy for us, sometimes maybe we turn it off and go actually do it ourselves using our own brains.
Exactly. I mean, I'll double down on what you've said the king move is, and it can be the smallest of hard things. It doesn't have to be this massive thing. It's just, where is there a little bit of discomfort that I can lean into? And that may be turning off my GPS on my way home, and I'm going to figure out what the best route is myself, because I know how to do it. And if I get stuck in traffic, hey, you know what? It's going to give me an opportunity to sit in silence, not pick up my phone, or listen to that thing that I've been wanting to, whatever it may be. It's not always leaning into distraction.
That's a wrap for today's episode of King Moves. Quick favor before we go. If this episode made you think differently or helped you see your next move more clearly, take 30 seconds and leave us a review. It helps the show reach leaders who need these conversations. Remember, in chess, like in business, one right move can change everything.
Take today's action step, make your move, and build momentum. And if you found value in today's episode, share it with someone who's ready for the next breakthrough. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss our weekly conversations.
Until next time.